asked Kay to stay up here, and that would have been my speech, so thank you. And I made sure I grabbed some tissue. Where are the Onslow County people? Are there any Onslow County people here? Hi. I always like to know where you guys are sitting. Good morning to you all. I want to thank you in advance for opening your hearts and your minds to me this morning, and I'm hoping that I will further be able to enrich your conference experience this morning with what I have to share. Anytime the APPCNC invites me to speak about my past experiences, regardless of the forum, I am very truly humbled, and just want to say to the staff, thank you for even extending an invitation to me. I will warn you of the audience. I'm quite sure you have some very dynamic speakers, but I don't have any fancy PowerPoint slides. I don't have any audience participation activities or music. All I have for you this morning is my voice and my words, and I hope that that will suffice in the end. My hope is that the message I have for you today conveys my true passion for advocating for the populations that each of you serve every day. And my thanks to you as service providers. Your work, although often unappreciated by the general population, has value far beyond what you may assume it has. And I am here today because of you. When Kay asked me to speak at this year's conference, I was very excited, but I will admit I really struggled this time. It's a first. I've been idling over what I would share with you today, and it's such a great opportunity to be here and to possibly communicate such an important and vital message in this short time. I don't want to waste it, and it's very valuable time, so it's very precious to me. In 2006, when I stood here last, possibly before some of you that were here then, I recognize some of your faces. We were in the same hotel, and if I'm not mistaken, I was in the same time slot that I am today. I performed a monologue. I hope that I was transparent, and I know that at the time I was very vulnerable, and I was very emotionally fragile, and I cried. It was very therapeutic for me in a sense, and it was life-changing for what would come after that. But the emotions that I was battling at the time were very raw. I was very bitter at my family, having felt abandoned, and I had unresolved frustration towards those adults in my life that had failed to responsibly guarantee me my right to an education free of discrimination. And I felt resentment and anger towards my younger self for having become pregnant at the age of 15. I revealed to a room full of strangers my unadulterated truth, and I told my story. Well, since that time, my story has changed dramatically, but that caused me to be a little disappointed in that over the past few months I've been debating what I could share with you that would be as impactful and dramatic as it had been before. To be honest, for once in my life, I was at a loss for words, for thoughts, and for ideas, and my canvas was blank. I wasn't prepared recently. In March, I learned that one of my high school classmates, Naya Sessoms, a friend, and one of 4 other teen mothers in my high school had lost her battle with lupus, and she passed away. She was 32 and a mother of 3. And her eldest daughter, who was 16, was 1 year younger than my own son. Although saddened to learn this event spawned a host of ideas and feelings that I feel honor her life and her spirit, and it reminded me of who I had been. For weeks, I was brought together again with other women who I used to share a unique bond with, that of adolescent parenthood. We began reminiscing on our memories of spending time together with one another, with our children, carpooling to basketball games and forming a child-friendly section at pep rallies. We shared meals at McDonald's, watching our kids play at the indoor playground. I think there was 1 or 2 McDonald's in Jacksonville at the time. I don't know if it's the same. We even shared some of our more unpleasant experiences, those of without to the sake of our children. And those of discrimination, those that were soured with the stench of the stigma that teen pregnancy is often associated with. Those that reminded us of our loss of a normal childhood, or simply that we felt alone. But that was before APP. 3 simple words: Adolescent Parenting Program. One acronym, but what it represents and what it stands for, it means the world to so many of us and those that it serves. APP connected us all, and it somewhat humanized our previously inhumane experiences. Before APP, I had no idea that there were other teen mothers that went to my school. We were kind of a dark secret. And I remember on a spring day, Rachel, another young mother, saw me with my son, kissing him goodbye before I left for school. And I think she instinctively knew that he was my child. When I got on the bus, she came and sat near me. "Hey," she whispered, "you need help with your baby? There's a place that I go every other week, and there are other girls that have babies too, and I think you should come." And so I did, giving birth to my APP experiences. It was there that our bi-weekly meetings that I met Chiquita, Lakeelia, Naya, and got to know Rachel better. And I remember vividly Mrs. Amy Greenslip, the coordinator of the Onslow County program at the time, arriving at my home to talk to me about my baby. Not my poor decisions, not my unskilled parenting, and not my immaturity. Just me and my baby. She failed to pass judgment, and she failed to place blame. She expressed empathy and positive regard for my experience. She looked at me in my eyes, which was something that I wasn't getting much of those days. Instead of reliving my past and narrowing her scope to what I had done wrong, she instead simply acknowledged what I was doing right. She spoke in the future tense to me, and she engaged me in conversations that planted seeds of hope for what I could be. I will share with you that without APP, I'm not exactly sure what direction or path my life would have taken. Which brings me to another life appreciation, that of who I am now. When I was last here, I was in my 7th year of my long-term community college career. I was in my, it took me a long time. I was in my 2nd year of providing case management services to teen mothers for the Mecklenburg County APP program. And still having never met my own father, I myself was parenting alone my 10-year-old son. Well, fast forward 7 years, and here we are today. Boy, has life happened. I have been blessed beyond belief. Since 2006, I have added to my resume 3 degrees and a clinical licensure. I have changed the Miss in my name to Mrs. And I've expanded my family, having given birth to 2 beautiful and healthy baby boys, to whom I parent with my best friend. And I have finally met my father, who has taken an interest in my now 17-and-a-half-year-old son, who I hope to be sending off to college later this year. In counting my many blessings, one of my prayers is that despite the occasional absent-mindedness I have, or getting caught up in the distractions of life, I hope that I will never lose my humility, and that I always remember to express my gratitude to those individuals that gave me hope when I lacked my own. So many angels in disguise that were positioned in my path, but with a great purpose. My APP coordinator, and one of my volunteer mentors who I still keep in touch with. The Rotary Club in Jacksonville that paid for my may not assume people would remember to the degree that I do. I think about the school nurse that was a former OB that snuck me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in between classes because I couldn't bring food into the classroom. Because of her and a couple of nice cafeteria ladies that gave me extra servings of milk during lunchtime, I think that my 85-pound frame at the time was able to give birth to a healthy and protein-rich 7.5-pound baby. I think about the stranger in the hall. I still don't know who she was, but she encouraged me and comforted me after my name was purposely left off of our high school honor roll announcement program in an attempt to avoid bringing focus to me and my child who were in the audience at the time. I remember running out into the hallway upset, and I remember her telling me, never let those kind of people keep you from doing what you do. And to this day, I think I'm a rebel, because anything labeled impossible simply means an opportunity to me. I think about the taxi cab driver, number 7, who I always call for, in Jacksonville, that transported me every day from my home to the daycare, where I would walk across the street to school. He'd pick me back up at the daycare after school, take us home, and then he'd pick me back up maybe an hour later to take me to work at the Shoney's on Western Boulevard, and then pick me up again late that night to take me back home, all for $25 a week. Now at the time, that was a lot of money to me, but he always kept a booster seat in the trunk, and he always put his cigarette out before we got in the car. And on bank deposit days, he'd have a lollipop for my son. And now I know that he was simply performing an act of kindness and allowed me an opportunity to be responsible and accountable. And I think about the manager at Shoney's that allowed me to break child labor laws and stay after 10 p.m. several nights a week so that I could earn diaper money for my child. I think about the chorus teacher that let me join her class after she learned my band instructor refused to let me stay in band after learning I'd become pregnant. He felt that I'd be a distraction in the front row and that some parents were complaining. She said no to that, and she put me right in the center front row of every chorus performance that we had. We talk about courage. And I remember my high school Spanish teacher, Mrs. Therrett, who, against the advice of the other teachers, allowed me to bring my baby after school to Spanish club meetings so that I have something to add to my college application. And I remember my first landlord that discounted my rent after learning I was a young mother, sharing that she too had been an adolescent parent. I could go on and on. So many faces and so many names and so many memories. Then I did not know the depth of how impactful a professional helper could be. I didn't understand that a village could truly raise a child. But now I know that it takes someone special to devote their lives to helping others. It's an occupation of selflessness, of sacrifice, and of dedication to someone other than yourself. It's not a profession of glory, but instead one of humility. It's not a job that always begins at 8 and ends at 5. Instead, it's one of constant duty and watch. And it is most certainly, and I know firsthand, not a career that results in financial wealth. However, when you invest in the business of people and their dreams, you'll discover that you are rich beyond your wildest belief. I'd hope that I'd be able to stick with the title of my speech and share with you in the end where I hope I'd be in the future, but I can't do that today. And having lost such a young friend in Naya, it's more important to me than ever that I live each day to the fullest. I am a statistic, but I'm also a good mother. I'm also a hard-working individual, and I'm also human. And each of us being here today, just in this purpose, it'd be foolish to deny that teen pregnancy is an epidemic. That's a fact. And I'll say it again, I am a statistic. But I will add that I am not just a number. The odds have been stacked against me. Only 38% of young women who give birth before the age of 22, fewer than 1 in 4, will complete high school. The odds are better that I would commit and actually get away with murder. That's serious. It's 2 to 1 that could actually happen. And less than 2% of teen mothers will earn a college degree before the age of 30. I learned recently that during the dot-com boom in the late 90s, Marissa Mayer, the current VP of Google, estimated that the idea behind Google also had only a 2% probability of success. The technology giant that we know today then only housed approximately 20 employees and now employs over 29,000. And I think to Google something is in the vocabulary of people all around the world. There's no prepackaged formula or script that you could use when working with people that I've ever found. Even when I am my most prepared, I have learned that life happens. And it is in that point, that it's critical that you also learn to be in the moment. I plead with you, one professional to another, and more importantly, one past participant of APP, to make it a conscious practice to cast hope and not doubt into the lives of those you serve, and create an environment of acceptance, despite your occasional lack of understanding. Now, I understand that this year's conference theme is the next frontier, but I ask that if you fail to understand where you are now, how could you ever possibly plan for tomorrow? The teen mothers you work with, I would argue they are not the best predictors of next week, best known 5 to 10 years from now. What they do know, however, is how they feel today, right now, in this moment. Understand that you have come so much closer to understanding them, if you can understand that. The memory of who you were to your participants, your title, and even your name will not be what's remembered, but instead how you made them feel. So you have a choice. 16 years since my first experience with APP, I still remember how I was made to feel. That feeling is still very fresh, as you can see, and it's ingrained in my spirit of who I am. It's in my mind, and it's in my heart, and it's in my walk every day. I felt nurtured, and I felt heard, and I felt human. I'll end my time today by thanking all of you for having me and for allowing me to be transparent again, to communicate to you, if not already known, how important each of you are in the lives of adolescent parents. I wish all of you health and strength and wisdom in your journeys to help guide some of the more misunderstood and misguided souls. But most of all, I pray that you, in doing the work that you do for others, take time occasionally to do for you, and to live with purpose, and to live by loving. Thank you all again for all that you do, and thank you for your time today. And travel safe.